Hey everybody, the time has come at last. We're going to get into my office tank and we're going to do a water change. We're going to get the glass wiped down and we're going to remove a lot of this Java moss. You may notice I already got in there and I removed a lot of the red wag platies. I have a new Galaxy koi betta fish in this tank, and I think he was getting a little stressed out by the abundance of the red wag platies. So a lot of those are downstairs now. Some went into my koi pond in the basement, and most of them went into my 55-gallon tank downstairs with the diamond tetras and the Buenos Aires and the discus, and they look really good in there. So check that out if you haven't seen it already. But in the meantime, I'm going to get in here. We're going to do the water change. We're going to get the filter cleaned out. Again, you can see it's been a little while since I've gotten in and done any work on the filter, but it's still flowing because I do change the actual filter pad from time to time. So we're still getting filtration and flow through the biological filter. I also have a small power head in the bottom right hand corner back here. I also, as you can see, have a little air stone in there. So even though it's a fairly stagnant or still water tank by appearances, it's not really. We have plenty of gas exchange and filtration and so on and so forth going on. So hopefully in the second half of this video, we get a look at him right now. There's my Galaxy koi betta fish. Looks like a little shrimp line there in the bushes. So we're going to open the tank up and give that fish a little more swimming around room. So consider this your before, and there's your after. So I was not kidding when I said I was going to get in there and remove a lot of that Java moss. I removed a lot of Java moss. It just kept coming and coming and coming, and I just kept pulling it out and pulling it out and pulling it out. And eventually we got to see, hey, look, I got rocks and plants, and there's all kinds of stuff growing in the tank. So we have a little cave back here. That is one of my few artificial pieces. That's one of the very first pieces I ever bought. It's a very common piece in people's aquarium. A little artificial cave back there. That's one of my few purchased pieces of wood. But it's a beautiful little piece of wood. It's got a little hole through it. Little tiny fish can swim through there. We can get to see that now. We can see some of the rocks. I've got some Anubias growing back here. And for some reason, my betta fish seems to hide directly underneath of the filter. Now, when I got all of the Java moss cleared out, as you can imagine, that Java moss was acting as an enormous baffle, and it was completely stopping the flow of water around the tank. So despite having the small power head and the air stone and the filter running, we had very little water flow. So once I pulled so much of that stuff out of there and we got, a nice open tank now, I was noticing a lot of water flow, especially coming from the filter. I turned the filter all the way down. It is adjustable, and I turned it down to as low as it would go, and I still found it to be an unacceptable amount of water. Or amount of flow, I should say, water flow. These betta fish do not like a lot of current, and you can see the little bits of detritus and stuff drifting along in the tank. There's still a reasonable amount of water flow in the tank, and I'm wondering if even that much isn't too much for this little fish. It doesn't seem to be having any issue with it, and there are plenty of places it can go to hang out where the water's very still. It can get down into these rocks down here. I've seen it down there. And again, if you look at the Java moss itself, that's very delicate stuff. And if you don't see that moving in any current, then that gives you a pretty good idea that there's not much current going in there. But the water is moving around. It is flowing. And that alone may be too much for this little betta fish. So what I did, of course, was I did the same thing I did in the basement. I simply took a piece of this sponge. I'll put that back when the video's over. But the filter's flowing full crank. You just can't really see the water flow because of this little sponge right here. So if we take that little sponge off, now we look at it, and you can see much more water flow. So that to me feels like too much. You can see the ferns drifting and flowing. You can see the fish is sort of in a current at this point. It's moving around a lot. That just seems untenable to me. Again, these betta fish like a very, very calm environment, and you can see how stressed out it's already starting to act. It's swimming around looking for a place to get out of the current. So again, as soon as the video's over, I will be putting this piece of sponge back in there, and it doesn't stop the water flow, but it does slow it down a great deal, and it also will act as additional biofiltration, as if I actually need it in this tank. I don't really think I do, but it will act as additional biofiltration. So there you go, everybody. That's the first good clear look at my new Galaxy koi betta fish, and his name again is Bubblegum. Or I'm sorry, Gumball. I'm confusing myself here. Although Bubblegum or Gumball would work. And of course, I'm calling him that because of the way he looks. He just reminds me of those great big gumballs that had those speckled colors all over them. I've seen jawbreakers that have that same appearance. We might be able to call him Jawbreaker. But I prefer Gumball, so there you go. His name is Gumball. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. Don't miss my live streams every Friday night and Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on this channel. So thanks again for watching. See you real soon in the next one.